Oh, we got 14 games today. And part of me last night was while I was doing these boards up, I was like, I should do this tonight. And then I looked at it after I was done, and I was like, holy crap, that's a lot of stuff you got on there, Shannon. We'll do it in the morning. So we'll see which decision was the smartest. Starting things off, we got the Vancouver Canucks against the Chicago Blackhawks. First off, we're going to look at the Canucks. They currently have a record of 24, 24, and 6. So they've won 24 out of 54 games. Over their last six, they lost to Washington 3-2. Before that, they lost to Philly 2-1. Prior to that, they beat Colorado 5-1. Before that, they lost to Carolina 5-2. So they've lost 3 out of 4. They beat Detroit and Buffalo before that by scores of 3-2 and 4-3. On the road, they're 12, 14, and 3 now. So that, again, is back below 500 because of the East Coast. We'll see if Chicago turns that around. Versus the West, they're 13, 11, and 4. So, again, against Chicago, we'll see if that changes. Their goals leaders, Peterson, 24, Horvat, 18, Besser with 18 as well. Plus minus leaders, Troy Stetcher leads them there with a plus 17. Peterson leads them as well with a plus 14. So kids playing pretty well at both ends of the rink. Brock Besser's a plus 8. So that's as good as it gets for the Vancouver Canucks right now. Starting goalies. Let me double check something. All right, we don't have a goalie confirmation for the Canucks. I'm betting on Markstrom. He's 20, 15, and 5 with a 910 save percentage. Last I heard, Demko was still injured, and we still had DiPietro up. So Demko's 1-0-0 with a 923 save percentage. Now, when we look at the Chicago side of things, 21, 24, and 9 is the record, so they're below the Canucks there, but the rest is pretty sunshiny for these guys. They beat Edmonton 6-2, beat Minnesota 4-3, beat Buffalo 7-3, beat the Islanders 3-2, beat Washington 8-5. Before that, they lost to the Rangers 4-3. Of course, the issue that faces Chicago is this. They've won 5 in a row coming into tonight. Tonight, a win would make it 6. It's expending so much energy to get back into the race that another letdown can and does often happen with situations like this. At home, they're 10, 10, and 6, so finally they got an even record at home. Versus the West, they're 12, 14, and 6. Their goals leaders, well, Kane leads there with 32. He's fantastic. DeBrincat, 26, and Taves, 23. Plus minus, Connor Murphy, plus 8. Dahlstrom, plus 6. Cahoon, a plus 5. Goaltenders, Dealey has been confirmed as the starter tonight, so Ward will be the backup. Ward's 10, 8, and 4, 891 save percentage. Dealey is 5, 2, and 3 with a 922 save percentage, and Vancouver won the only meeting between these two teams this year. So, honestly, as a fan of the Canucks, this again kind of worries me. The Canucks beat them already this year. They've suffered back-to-back defeats on the road. Without Edler, without Berchi, without Demko to relieve Markstrom. Yeah, that's a lot of things that are adding up against them, and for Chicago, they're just on such a roll. So it is really hard for me to predict that won't continue tonight. Next up, Dallas. Dallas Stars in against the Nashville Predators. And of course, these teams met not that long ago. Let's take a look. Dallas is 28, 21, and 4 over their last 6 games. Things have started getting better. They beat Arizona 5-4 in their last game. They beat Nashville 3-1, Minnesota 3-1, Buffalo 1-0, Winnipeg 4-2, and before that, that was the humiliating 2-1 loss against the LA Kings at home. So, overall, the Dallas Stars are having a much better season thanks to this winning streak. They're 10, 13, and 2 on the road. That still concerns me, that their road record has been as poor as it has, but there's signs of it getting better. Versus the West, they're 18, 10, and 2, so they're very good against the West. Their goals leaders, of course, Sagan with 22. He has started to show that he's Tyler Sagan again. Ben 19, Radulov 14. Plus minus leaders, Sagan leads the team at a plus 13. Radulov's plus 10. Jamie Benn and John Klingberg both have plus 7s for the Dallas Stars. Goaltenders, Hudobin's been confirmed as a starter. Let's see if he can pull out another miracle. He's 9, 9, and 2 with a 926 save percentage. Bishop, 19, 12, and 2 with a 924 save percentage. On the Nashville side of things, 32, 19, and 4 overall. They get there over their last 6 games by defeating Arizona 5-2, so both these teams coming off of wins against Arizona. Of course, losing to Dallas 3-1 before that, beating Vegas 2-1, beating Colorado 4-1, losing against Florida 5-2, and before that losing against Winnipeg 5-1. So the results have been a mixed bag for the Nashville Predators, but as I've been saying lately, when you're already in the playoffs, you've built up all these points early on in the year, you can be 500 later on and it doesn't really hurt you. Not in your overall standing. At home, they're 17-10 versus the West. They're a mediocre 16-14-1 when you compare it to their Eastern record. I think Nashville would love to play the East. In the playoffs, I think if they could somehow go, oh, whoops, we accidentally switched conferences, I think they'd be quite happy. They seem to play much better against Eastern teams. Their goals leaders, Arvidsson, 21. You wonder how many he would have if not for injury. Forsberg, 19, and Smith with 15. Plus minus leaders, Colton Sissons, plus 26. Bonino, plus 25, and Ekholm, plus 25. So, has Bonino been offensively what they would have wanted when they're trading out guys that they are and trying to strengthen their centers? No. Is it worth the huge contract he got? This year it actually might be. His overall numbers, I think, have got a lot better. Goaltenders, no confirmation, but Saros is likely. Rene's 19-13-3, 914 save percentage. Saros is 13-6-1, 916 save percentage for the Nashville Predators. When you're looking at the overall records, Dallas has a 2-0-1 record against the Nashville Predators this year, so it's been a pretty good matchup for the Dallas Stars. We'll see how that works out for tonight. All right, next up, Vegas. Vegas Golden Knights in against the trapping Detroit Red Wings. And it's interesting because, Vegas over their recent games, I could throw an Akbar magnet into this and say it's a trap game, but is it really? Because Vegas's record lately hasn't been great. And they have to feel like they stole one in Tampa. They're 30-21-4. And they won 3-2 in Tampa in their last game, but prior to that, they lost 3-1 at Florida, 5-2 at Carolina. They lost 2-1 against Nashville, 4-2 against Minnesota, and prior to that, they beat Pittsburgh 7-3 in a weird freak game. That one, and their road record is still not great. It's 14-15-1 now. Versus the East, they're 13-11-2. So they don't fare well against the East either. So this can't be considered a trap game because looking at all those numbers, there's no doubt in my mind Gerard Gallant is telling his players, hey, this is not a team we want to overlook because we want to even our road record, and we really need to start playing better on these Eastern swings, which is something that Travis Green may be telling the Canucks right now. Your goals leaders for Vegas, Marchessault 17, Tuck 16, Pacioretty and Carlson also have 16, and there's a lot of talk about William Karlsson and his goal scoring being down. My only answer to that is look at his shooting percentage last year. You're not going to keep that up. That's just it's just gravity. That's just the law of averages is how that works. I think what we're seeing from Karlsson this year is likely where he's at. Plus minus leaders, Schmidt plus 12, Tuck plus 11, and Paul Stastny with a plus 8. No confirmation on goaltenders. I'm thinking Fleury. Legasse would then be the backup. He's 0-1 with an 871 save percentage. Fleury 28-15-4, 911 save percentage. He's been at that save percentage for a while now. On the Detroit side of things, 21-25-7. They've been much better lately. They won 2-0 against Ottawa. They won 3-2 against Toronto. They won 3-2 against Edmonton. Lost 3-2 to Vancouver. Lost 6-4 to Calgary, and beat Anaheim 3-1. But almost everybody beats Anaheim right now. That's kind of an ongoing tale, and we'll see how that turns out tonight. Goals leaders for Detroit, 22 for Larkin, 17 for Athanasiou, 13 for Bertuzzi. Plus minus leaders, Mike Green with a plus 11, DeKeyser plus 10, Glendening plus 9. Howard is listed as the likely starter tonight. Bernier would be the backup. He's 6-12-2, 898 save percentage. Howard 15-13-5, 915 save percentage for him. This is their first meeting of the year, which may very well favor Detroit. They have last change, and in general, this is a matchup that I like from a Detroit perspective. I think the Detroit Red Wings are a better team than it seems like most other people think they are. I don't think they're that far from turning things around, but we'll see. All right, next up, Winnipeg. The Jets in against Montreal. This is also a first meeting between these two teams for this season. The Jets are 34-16-3 overall. Let's see how they got there over their last 6. They lose 3-2, of course, against San Jose in overtime. Great win for San Jose. And they have a big matchup tonight, too. They beat Anaheim 9-3, of course, famously. They beat Columbus 4-3, Boston 4-3 over Columbus, 4-3 over Boston. They lost 3-1 to Philly, and they lost 4-2 against Dallas. So it's been an up and down kind of last 6 games. They end up being 3-2-1. So overall, it's not bad. Because again, when you're at the top, you can play a little bit of mediocre here and there, and you don't lose your spot. On the road, they're 14-10, and versus the East, they're 13-6-1. So they're very solid against the East. Their goals leaders, Mark Scheifele, 26. Laine still at 25. Connor at 22. Plus minus, Scheifele has 20. Or plus 20, I should say. Trouba's plus 15, and Andrew Kopp is at plus 12. Goaltenders, no confirmations here. I'll say Hellebuck, 24, 12, 2, 910 save percentage. Brossois, 10, 2, 1 with a 940 save percentage. Montreal, they're 30, 18, 6. Their record has been fantastic and keeps getting better. And I say that as a Boston fan that likes to see them in the playoffs, and I like to see them with some confidence, but not that much confidence. Over their last 6, they beat Anaheim 4-1, ongoing theme. They beat Edmonton 4-3, also an ongoing theme. They lost 3-2 against the Devils. They beat Arizona 2-1. They lost 5-2 to Philly, and they beat Columbus 4-1. So teams that are on losing streaks don't like seeing the Montreal Canadiens. Winnipeg's only lost their last game. It was in overtime. You can't consider that a streak, really. Goaltenders, no confirmation for Montreal. I'll go ahead and say Carey Price there, because Price is usually a pretty good bet. Niemi's 8-5-2 with an 893 save percentage. Price 22-13-4, and his save percentage is now a tidy 916. So Price's numbers keep getting better, and when you look at the overall numbers for Montreal, at home they're 16-10-3 versus the West. They're 14-9-0. Their goals leaders, well, Gallagher's now hit 20. He's got 21. Domi 17. Tatar with 16. Their plus-minus leaders, Dano, plus 18, Mate, plus 16, and there's Shea Weber with a plus 13. So overall, solid numbers for the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah, they're legit. And as long as them being legit doesn't mean Boston misses the playoffs, I'll be happy. But if I end up seeing Boston on the outside of the playoffs, probably won't be cheering for Montreal in the first round, no matter who they're playing. Although it takes a lot for me to cheer for the Montreal Canadiens. It really does. All right. Next up, Anaheim and Ottawa. That's right, boys and girls. Get your PVR ready. It's the battle between teams 30 and 31 on my current power rankings, and that's going to be interesting because Team 31 is visiting Team 30, and I'm saying that because it's not like I'm giving anything away in saying, oh, Anaheim's at the bottom of the power rankings. What? Are you serious? Yeah. 21-24-9 is their record. Over their last couple of months, they've lost a lot, but let's take a look. Their last game, they lost 4-1 to Montreal. They lost 6-1 to Toronto before that. They lost 9-3 against Winnipeg before that. They lost 5-1 to St. Louis, and they lost 3-0 to the Islanders. This was after a 3-2 win over New Jersey, and they probably felt pretty good off those back-to-back wins over Minnesota and New Jersey. That's gone. And there's Ryan Getzlaf, an interview today where he's like, oh, we expect changes ahead of the deadline. Do you think? Do you? I tend to kind of agree with that assessment. Anyways, goals leaders, road record for Anaheim is sad, 11-16-1. Versus the East, they're 11-11-4. Anaheim had excellent numbers overall until this losing started about 19 games ago now. Goals leaders, Silverberg with 12. Kashe with 11. Of course, he's out for the year. Getzlaf also has 11 now. Your plus-minus leaders, Nick Ritchie, plus 5. Sherwood and Grant, both plus 2. No sign of the big names in that list. Chad Johnson's now 2-10 with an 885 save percentage. Gibson's confirmed as the starter. He's 17-18-8 with a 914 save percentage. So, that save percentage of Johnson's has come down quite a bit. The good news is they're in against Ottawa, a team that's also struggling. The bad news is Ottawa's a team that can score as well. They're 19-29-5 are the Ottawa Senators. And it is a case of a team that can't score against a team that can't stop the other team from scoring. So the something's got to give game where these teams do nothing but give. Over their last 6 games, the Senators lost 5-4 last night against Toronto. They lost 2-0 against Detroit. They lost 5-3 against Pittsburgh. They lost 3-2 against Arizona. They lost 3-2 against St. Louis, and they beat Carolina 4-1. So, for those of you following along at home, this is definitely a PVR type game. And all kidding aside, this could actually end up being an excellent game to watch because both teams have been so generous defensively. At home, they're 12-11-4 versus the West. They're 7-10-3. So the record against the West, not very solid. Goals leaders, Stone with 22, Duchesne with 22, and Dzingel with 20. All 3 of them potential UFAs this summer. Plus minus, Stone, plus 13, DeMello, plus 12, and Zach Smith's a plus 4. Goaltenders, no confirmation. It'll probably be Nilsson because Anderson played last night. Anderson's 14, 17, and 3 now with a .904 save percentage. Nilsson's 7, 12, and 1 combined between Ottawa and Vancouver with a .906 save percentage. So, go with Nilsson. Ottawa won their only meeting this year in Anaheim. So, if that means anything, it's there. Between these two teams, though, it is going to be interesting to see. I would not be surprised to see Ottawa win this, only because I think there's less pressure on Ottawa. They're way out of the race, whereas Anaheim, there's still pressure. They're not out of the race because it's the West. Next up, San Jose. Oh, this is the big one, isn't it, boys and girls? So I've got this one against this one, and you couldn't be more opposite. San Jose, the last time they went to Calgary, those two teams didn't get along. It was not a pleasant matchup. It wasn't a matchup that will be remembered for its gallantry or its sportsmanship. And sometimes that's what the fans like. San Jose's 31-16-7. So the other good news is both of these teams playing pretty solid hockey coming into this matchup. San Jose, over their last 6, they beat Winnipeg 3-2, Arizona 3-2, Washington 7-6. Before that, things were bad. They lost 6-2 against Florida. They lost 6-3 against Tampa and 6-3 against Arizona. That Arizona loss came right after a win over Pittsburgh. So, but over their last couple of games, they've only allowed 4 goals. But the bad news is that a team that struggled defensively now goes in against Calgary, one of the best offensive teams in the league. There could end up being a lot of goals in this game, though. Really could. On the road right now, San Jose's 13-12-3, so they're still trying to stay above water on the road, and it's been a struggle for them this year. Versus the West, they're 20-8-3. So good record against the West. Calgary, well, we'll see. Their goals leaders, Pavelski with 29, Hurdle with 22, Kane with 21. Plus minus leaders, Brendan Dillon has a plus 19. He's still the leader there. Timo Meier plus 17. Brent Burns is a plus 10. So when you look at reasons why Brent Burns could potentially be in the Norris hunt, he does have a better plus minus than he did last year, and he's still putting up a ton of points. I would imagine Martin Jones starts here. Arundel started the last game and speared somebody. Or did he start or did he finish that game? I don't remember. I know it was Arundel that speared a member of the Calgary Flames in and amidst all of the great sportsmanship that was going on in that game. That game was such a mess. Jones is 25-10-4, 897 save percentage. I expect to see him tonight. Dell, 6-6-3, 891 save percentage. On the Calgary side, they're 34-14-5. And their most recent really solid stretch kind of started with that win over the San Jose Sharks. It was kind of where they put the whole league on notice of, yeah, no, we're pretty good. And we're going to win our share of games, and we're going to win them ugly. Over their last 6, they beat Carolina 4-3. They lost to Washington 4-3. They beat Carolina 3-2. Probably wish Carolina was on their schedule a little more. They beat Edmonton 5-2, beat Detroit 6-4, and lost to Buffalo 4-3. At home, they're 17-4-5. Very impressive record at home. Versus the West, they're 22-9-2. That is also an impressive record. Their goals leaders, Johnny Gaudreau has 29. Monahan 27 and Kachuk 24. Plus minus leaders, Giordano is a plus 30. Brody's a plus 29, and Backlund is a plus 27 for the Calgary Flames. Goaltenders, no confirmation. I'm going to say Riddick. Smith's 14-10-1, 889 save percentage. Riddick's 24-4, 918 save percentage. These two teams have met each other twice. They've both won one. So, great matchup. This is the one we're all waiting on. This is what we've been waiting for since the last time they met each other. And it's here. We get to see San Jose and Calgary. And this could be fantastic. Really, honestly, could be absolutely fantastic. Now, what has not been fantastic is the Edmonton Oilers over the last while. And tonight they're in against a team that's also kind of not been fantastic recently in the Minnesota Wild. Now, the Oilers are a disaster. But they're a disaster that's still in the race. They're 23-25-5. The race is just... Anyways, we'll get to that on Sunday. Over their last 6, they lost to Chicago 6-2. They led that game in the third. They lost to Montreal 4-3. Led that game in the third. They lost to Philadelphia 5-4. Led that game in the third. They lost to Detroit 3-2. They lost to Carolina 7-4, and they lost to Calgary 5-2. This is a pretty bad stretch for them. On the road, they're 11-11-4 versus the West. They're 15-17-2. Their goals leaders, of course, is McDavid and Draisaitl tied with 31. And then Chiasson with 17. He's been there for a while. Plus-minus leaders, Benning is a +7 to lead the team. McDavid, Draisaitl, and Chiasson are also on there. They're all +2. So, not a lot going on in terms of depth with the Oilers right now. Talbot's been confirmed as the starter, and this to me is big news. Because it tells me that Ken Hitchcock looks at the last game against Chicago and says, you know what, Cam had a good 40 minutes. And then in the third, the team let him down. So I'm going to give him another chance in net. Because the team let him down. He didn't let them down. It'll be very interesting to see how things turn out. And the interesting thing to me, too, was that he stormed off and he stayed in the dressing room and didn't come back out. And he was angry. And when asked, Ken Hitchcock said, good. So it's a little bit different than the Tortorella situation where we had Bobrovsky kind of lose his mind. This was just Talbot storming off. A little bit different. But the way the Oilers seem to react to this seems a little bit different as well. Koskinen's 14-11-2 with a .906 save percentage. Talbot's 9-14-3 with an .891 save percentage. So his numbers are ugly, but they're giving him another chance because they do not feel those numbers reflect on Talbot as much as they reflect on the defense in front of him. The Minnesota Wild are 26-22-5, so the Wild are not doing a lot to distance themselves from everybody else behind them either. And they've had a way of losing games that should be wins. So don't necessarily bet on Minnesota tonight. Over their last 6, they lost to Buffalo 5-4. They lost to Chicago 4-3. They lost to Dallas 3-1. They beat Colorado 5-2. They beat Vegas 4-2. They beat Columbus 2-1. So there's the good Wild, there's the bad Wild, and I don't know which one you're going to get tonight. I have no idea. At home, they're 13-9-4 versus the West. They're 18-13-3. Their goals leaders, Parise, 21. Stahl, 17, and Jason Zucker has 14. Plus-minus leaders, Spurgeon has a +6, Parise +5, Coyle also has a +5 for the Minnesota Wild. Goaltenders, I expect Dubnyk, he's a former Oiler, 20-17-4, .913 save percentage. Stalock, 6-5-1, .891 save percentage. This is their third meeting of the year, which should make it the final meeting, and both teams have won one. So this is the rubber match, and I really don't have any clue because, again, Minnesota manages to lose games they probably shouldn't, and the Oilers lose all the time. So that being said, I'm now going to switch boards, and we're going to talk about the other half of the games for tonight. Okie dokie, so next up, Carolina and Buffalo. If the Buffalo Sabres are going to make a push and get in, it has to continue tonight. You cannot allow the Carolina Hurricanes to get a little bit more momentum and a little bit more confidence at your expense. Carolina's 26-21-6. And oh yeah, they're in this. They are in this. They're tied with Buffalo in points. They're in this. They beat Pittsburgh 4-0 in their last game. Before that, they lost to Calgary 4-3. They beat Vegas 5-2. They beat Vancouver 5-2. Prior to that, they lost to Calgary 3-2, and they beat Edmonton 7-4. This is a team that can score now. Their shooting percentage has been steadily going up during the season, which is what they needed at the start of the year. Stop shooting from just everywhere and take the right shots. Aho's their goal leader. Ferland and Niederreiter have 14 to the 24 of Aho. Funny thing. Ferland, the whole way through, he's rumored to be on his way out. And I kept saying no. At no point on this channel have I said, oh yeah, no, they'll trade Ferland, because I thought Carolina's in this. Why would you get rid of Ferland? Doesn't make any sense. Article today on TSN, Carolina may keep Ferland as their own rental. It's not a rental if he's already on your team. It's not a thing. It's not. He's on the team because why would you have, just because his contract's expiring, you're gonna ditch him? Is he gonna cost that much to re-sign? I don't know. It's that silly time of year though, where every rumor I kind of go, eh. Aho leads the team in plus minus with a plus 19. Pesce plus 19 as well, and Teravainen plus 18. Who knows what other rentals of their own they're going to keep. Goaltenders. I kind of want to see McElhinney because he had the shutout over Pittsburgh. Mrazek's 11-11 and 3.894 save percentage. McElhinney now is a 12-6 1 917 save percentage. Hey, I'm with everybody else that's waiting for McElhinney to just kind of go back to his normal numbers, but this has been kind of fun to watch. On the Buffalo side of things, they're 26-20 and 6. How did they get there? Well, they beat Minnesota in their last game 5-4. They lost to Chicago 7-3 before that. They lost to Dallas 1-0 before that. They beat Columbus 5-4. They lost to Vancouver 4-3, and they beat Calgary 4-3. So Buffalo, it's been a 500 level last 6 games. But again, when you're trying to catch teams in front of you, if you win one, lose one, win one, lose one, on average, that means you're probably going to stay out of it. At home, they're 15-7 and 3, and versus the East, they're 13-11 and 5. So their home record's excellent, whereas Carolina on the road is 12-12 and 2 versus the East, they're 15-14 and 3. So those numbers in general favor Buffalo. Goals leaders for Buffalo, of course, Jeff Skinner, who used to play for Carolina. 31 for him, Eichel 17, and Reinhart 13. Plus minus leaders, Skinner leads there as well with a plus 12. Then you have a three-way tie with a plus 6 between Eichel, Dahlin, and Nelson. So solid numbers there for the Buffalo Sabres. Despite their struggles over the last couple of months, there's still some numbers there that tell you they'll be able to turn it around. Olmark's been confirmed as a starter, confirming what I thought, which is Olmark's been the better goaltender. They should ride him a little bit more. Apparently they're going to do that. Hutton's 15-15 and 3, 909 save percentage. Olmark 11-5 and 3, 914 save percentage. Carolina won the only meeting between these two teams this year. So we'll see if Carolina can keep that up. If they win tonight, if they win especially in regulation against Buffalo, that can get them some major momentum. But again, we'll see. Next up, Pittsburgh. All the unpredictable Penguins. They're in against the Florida Panthers. You know how divisive Pittsburgh is. So the NHL on the app, or NHL.com, they do their power rankings. And they just do the top 16. And I looked through how the votes work. And I saw people have Pittsburgh as high as 8th or 9th. And I know there was at least one that didn't have Pittsburgh in the top 16 in their power rankings. So that's how divisive the Pittsburgh Penguins are right now. They're 28-19 and 6. But over their last 6 games, they lost Carolina 4-0. They lost to Toronto 3-2. They beat Ottawa 5-3. They beat Tampa 4-2. But they lost to New Jersey 6-3, and they lost to Vegas 7-3 before that. So I totally get why it's such a divisive team. On the road, they're 13-9 and 4 versus the East. They're 13-12 and 5. Their goals leaders: Jake Gensel 26, Crosby 23, and Kessel with 21. Dumoulin leads them in plus minus with a plus 27. He is far and above ahead of Crosby plus 16 and Marcus Pettersson plus 11. So Pettersson's been pretty solid in his time in Pittsburgh. I'm sure they're glad they picked him up from Anaheim. On the goaltending side, it's likely to Smith tonight. Murray's got some kind of an upper body injury. They've called Jarry back up. Murray's 15-9 and 1, 909 save percentage to Smith 13-9 and 4, with a .917 save percentage, which is not as high as it's been. So DeSmith overall, his numbers not quite where they were. They're playing against Florida, who are 21, 22, and 8. So Florida's now won 21 out of 51 games, and it's just the season of frustration for Florida fans. In their last 6, they lost 3-2 against St. Louis. They beat Vegas 3-1. They lost to Nashville 4-1. They beat San Jose 6-2. They beat Nashville 4-2, and they beat Toronto 3-1. So they've won 4 out of 6, or they've lost 2 out of 3. Are you a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person? Either way, they're not looking like they're going to make up enough ground to really challenge for any kind of playoff spot in the East. At home, they're 11-8-5 versus the East. They're 15-12-6. So that's not going to get it done either. Their goals leaders: Hoffman with 24, Barkov with 19, Dadonov with 18. Their plus minus leaders: Trocheck with a 0, Haley -2, and then there's a gaggle of people at -3. Frankie Vetrano, Aaron Ekblad, Colton Sevier, and Kiselevich also has -3. Luongo has been confirmed as the starter for tonight. He's 10-12-1, .895 save percentage. That's good news for Pittsburgh because Luongo has not been great lately. Reimer 10-9-5, .901 save percentage, and Luongo would admit that. Pittsburgh did win the only meeting these two teams have had this year, meaning this is the second of 3 meetings between these two teams in different divisions, but the same conference. All right, next up, Islanders in against the New Jersey Devils. And wouldn't you know it, New Jersey, they're rolling the dice in net tonight. I don't know. I kind of like it, and yet at the same time, for Devils fans, tonight could be very, very frustrating. 30-16-6 is the record of the New York Islanders. They've been pretty solid over their last 52 games. They've been pretty good all year. They lost 3-1 at Boston, so they have to kind of dust themselves off after that one and go into this one tonight. They beat LA before that 4-2. They lost, of course, that heartbreaker to Tampa 1-0 in a shootout. They lost to Chicago 3-2. They beat Anaheim 3-0, and they beat Washington 3-0. So not a lot of goals for and not a lot of goals against for the Islanders. They tend to be low-scoring games. On the road, they're 15-9-2 versus the East. They're 19-8-5. Goals, Lee leads them there with 18, Nelson with 17, and Barzal with 15. Plus minus leaders, Cizikas plus 16, Mayfield plus 16, Nelson plus 15, and Komarov is on the board at plus 15. Goaltenders, there's been no confirmation. I would probably go with Grace. Why not? Leonard's 16-8-4 with a .931 save percentage. Grace is 14-8-2 with a .924 save percentage. There isn't a wrong answer when it comes to who should be the starter right now for the Islanders. They're both playing very, very well. On the New Jersey side, it's a little bit different than that. They're 20-25-7 over their last 6. They lost to LA 5-1. Of course, that was the big Kovalchuk return where they booed him off the ice, but he won. So, anyways, they beat Montreal 3-2. They lost to the Rangers 4-3. They beat Pittsburgh 6-3. Lost to the Anaheim Ducks 3-2, and lost to the Islanders 4-1. So they're basically sliding their way out of the playoff hunt. They did lose to the Islanders the last time they played them. Their overall record against the Islanders, not great. Goals leaders, Palmieri, 23, Coleman, 18, and Hischier with 16. Plus minus leaders, Lovejoy with a plus 5, Hischier's a plus 2. Coleman and Green are both -1. Corey Schneider's going to start tonight for the New Jersey Devils. It's happening. Corey Schneider gets another chance to win his first game since December of last year. No, not December of this season, December of the previous season. Kincaid will be the backup. He's 14-16-4 with an .896 save percentage. Schneider is 0-5-1 this year with an .852 save percentage. Watch the first shot from the Islanders. Schneider's got a bad habit of allowing a goal on the first shot and a lot of the time on the second. So we'll see how he does early. If they allow a couple of goals early, it could get ugly, and Kincaid should keep his pads and his mask really handy because he may very well be going into net. No playing cards and, heading out to the dressing room to hang out with trainers or nothing. Schneider has a spotty record when it comes to finishing games he starts. The Islanders have won all 3 meetings between these teams this year. So this one could be a big victory for the Islanders. Every victory for the Islanders is a big victory, but of course, against a division rival, we'll see what happens. Next up, L.A. So are the Kings a contender? Of course not. Should the Kings be in contention for the playoffs? No. No, not at all. Not in the slightest. In the overall standings, are the Kings behind the Flyers? Absolutely. Are the Flyers in contention for the playoffs? Depends who you ask. And this is the conundrum that we have. And for the Kings and for Rob Blake and Luc Robitaille, what do you do? Because you've traded off Muzzin. You've sent a letter to the fans and you've said, okay, we're not going to make it this year. But there has to be some temptation to kind of let it ride right until the deadline. They're 22, 27, and 4. So their overall record is poor, but they're not out of this. They've won their most recent game against New Jersey 5-1. They beat the Rangers 4-3 before that. They lost to the New York Islanders 4-2. They beat St. Louis 4-3. Of course, they got trashed by Colorado 7-1. And prior to that, they beat Dallas 2-1. On the road, they're 10, 14, and 3. And versus the East, they're 8, 12, and 2. So the overall numbers there, pretty solid in favor of a loss for the Kings. Can't argue that these numbers favor the Kings. Goals leaders, Kopitar with 16, Brown with 12, Kovalchuk and Toffoli both have 11. Plus minus leaders, Kopitar plus 4, Martinez plus 3, Brown, Clifford, and Ledoux are all at plus 2. Quick's the likely starter tonight, 10, 13, and 3, 903 save percentage. Jack Campbell would be the backup. He's 7 and 9, 933 save percentage for him. I don't think I did the home and road records of the Islanders and the Devils. The Islanders are 15, 9, and 2 on the road. They're 19, 8, and 5 against the East. The Devils are 13, 8, and 4 at home, which was great for them early on. And they're 12, 18, and 3 in their versus the East. So that definitely favors the Islanders as well. It's like you need more to favor the Islanders. All right, back to this. The Philadelphia Flyers, 24, 23, and 6. And in 2 words, Carter Hart. In their last 6, Carter Hart, Stolarz, Carter Hart. Vancouver lost to them. They beat them 2-1. They beat Edmonton 5-4. They beat Boston 3-2. They beat the Rangers 1-0. They beat Winnipeg 3-1, and they beat Montreal 5-2. That's a whole lot of wins, and yet, can they make the playoffs? Maybe, but they're going to have to do this for a while longer for the Flyers to make the playoffs. At home, they're now 13, 10, and 3. That's a whole lot better than what it was not that long ago. Versus the West, they're 12, 9, and 3. Their goals leaders, Couturier, 21. I think he's the guy that needs to be going. I've said that before. For them to be able to make the playoffs and be dangerous. I think Couturier is the key guy. Although Giroux will always get more points. He's got 16 goals. Simmons has 16 goals as well. Plus minus leaders, Gudas is plus 10. Giroux plus 5. Folan's still on there, plus 5 as well. Stolarz has been confirmed as the starter tonight, so we'll see if he can continue after the momentum of his 1-0 shutout of the Rangers. Hart's the backup at 10, 5, and 1, 925 save percentage. Stolarz is 3, 3, and 2 with an 896 save percentage. And Philadelphia won the only meeting they had this year with the LA Kings. So overall, the numbers definitely favor the Flyers. But the Kings have been bucking that trend. They won in New Jersey. They won in New York against the Rangers. We'll see if they can make it 3 in a row and make the job more difficult for their general manager. Next up, Colorado. When does that stop? When does the losing stop, and when do they turn it around? I'm sure the fans want to know. I'm sure management wants to know. They're 22, 22, and 8 now. So they're down to the same amount of losses as they have wins. But the way I prefer to look at it is they've won 22 out of 52 games. That, to me, is a much greater indicator of who's not playing well. And they're in against a Washington team that looks like they're turning things around. Oh, goody, say Avalanche fans. Over their last 6, they lost 6-3 against Columbus. That was a total meltdown. They lost 5-1 against Vancouver, also a meltdown. They lost 5-2 against Minnesota, which you guys get the point. They lost to Nashville 4-1, and that was after a huge win, 7-1 over the Kings, which followed a 5-2 loss to the Ottawa Senators. So this has been a steep drop for them. Even for an Avalanche, this is ugly. On the road, they're 12-12-3, and versus the East, they're 13-8-2. I'd like to say that naming the team the Avalanche, I never really liked it, but when they're not playing well, the name works on so many levels. Because it's falling to the ground. It's just rapid descent. Their goals leaders: Landeskog 29, McKinnon 27, Rantanen 23. Plus minus leaders: McKinnon plus 13, Rantanen plus 11, Landeskog and Zadorov both at plus 9. So that first line is playing well, and they're doing what they can. They're not getting enough support, and I've said this all year that you need more than that first line going, and that's why they split them up. And then you look at just some defensive miscues, their goaltending not necessarily being good enough. There's a lot of reasons why this has been a rough year. Varlamov has been confirmed as a starter. No surprise there since he was once a Capital himself. He's 13-13-5, 905 save percentage. Grubauer is 9-7-3, 890 save percentage. Youch. That's just a youch. Grubauer's 890 is one of the more disheartening save percentages in the league. On the Washington side, they're 29-18-6 over their last 6 games. They beat Vancouver 3-2. They lost to Boston 1-0. They beat Calgary 4-3. They lost to Toronto 6-3. They lost to San Jose 7-6. They lost to the Islanders 2-0. So it's been a rough last month or so for Washington, but they have won 2 out of 3, and now they've got Colorado coming in. At home, they're 15-9-4 versus the West. They've now evened that record at 10-10-3. Wins over Calgary and Vancouver have helped them greatly there. Their goals leaders, of course, it's Ovechkin at 37. Then Oshie and Vrana both have 16. Kempny's their plus-minus leader at plus 23. Carlson plus 19. And Vrana plus 14. Copley will be the starter tonight. He's 10-5-3. 903 save percentage. Holtby will be the backup at 19-13-3. 908 save percentage for him. Washington won their only matchup against this team this year. And so if Colorado's going to turn it around, now's a good time. And I'm sure that Avalanche fans have been saying this for a while. Now's a really good time to turn this around. No, we're not going to. All right. Okay, we're just going to keep crashing. Next up, St. Louis. The Blues. Who, tonight, if Vancouver loses a regulation and these guys win in regulation, welcome to the playoffs. And the weird part of it for me with St. Louis is this team is not playing as well this year as they did last year. Last year they got off to a great start. They had some mediocre issues middle of the season, end of the year. They charged up and they lost on the 82nd game of the season to the Colorado Avalanche to allow Colorado into the playoffs. But their overall totals were much better than they are this year. It's sort of weird. They're 24-22-5 right now over their last 6. Well, they beat Florida 3-2. They beat Columbus 4-2. They beat Anaheim 5-1. So they've won 3 in a row. This would be 4 if they can win this tonight. LA, they lost 4-3. They beat Ottawa 3-2, and they lost to Boston 5-2. I'm not intentionally avoiding mentioning that they're fighting the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight, or that the Lightning may very well be kind of ornery after the loss they just took, because I don't think this game is as lopsided as it looks on paper. On the road, St. Louis is 12-9-3, so they're decent on the road, which has definitely helped them get back into this race. And versus the East, they're 11-7-1, so they're better against the East than they are against the West. So that helps them, and that may very well be a good thing for them tonight as well. Some Western teams do really well with the Eastern swing, and the Canucks don't. Goals leaders, O'Reilly with 20, Tarasenko with 18, and Perron with 17. Plus minus leaders, O'Reilly is plus 18, Gunnarsson's plus 10, Parayko and Dunn both plus 9s. And Dunn, of course, had the game-winning goal in their last game against the Florida Panthers. Binnington's the starter tonight, of course. So if you have your Jordan Binnington jersey already, all newly minted, you can wear it tonight for this game. Allen, 15-15-4, 897 save percentage, now relegated to backup duty because Binnington is 7-1-1 with a 921 save percentage. That's brand new, shiny, and fantastic, isn't it? On the Tampa side of things, 39-11-3 is their record, so they have 81 points. That's ridiculous. Over their last 6 games, so they haven't looked like a team with 81 points already. They lost 3-2 to Vegas. They beat the Rangers 3-2. They beat the Islanders 1-0. They lost to Pittsburgh 4-2. They beat San Jose 6-3, and they lost to Toronto 4-2. So for Tampa, things haven't been great lately, but they really don't have to be for them to maintain their position as first in their division. They're 25-1 at home. They're 13-6-3 against the West. Overall, the numbers definitely favor them against St. Louis, but again, they've been a little meandering lately compared to early in the year when they just beat everybody. Points, their goals leader with 31. Stamkos has 28. Kucherov with 22. Plus-minus leaders, McDonough plus 20. Point plus 16, and Kucherov's on that one as well with a plus 14. So overall, the numbers are pretty good. I'm surprised the plus-minus leaders for Tampa don't have higher plus-minus. Surprised to see Dumoulin with a plus 27 there. McDonough's at plus 20. You look at Calgary, you got Giordano plus 30, Brody plus 27, Backlund plus 27. And again, there's McDonough leading the team at plus 20. So while plus-minus don't tell you a lot, the team with the highest plus-minus normally means something. Vasilevsky's the starter tonight for Tampa. He's 21-7-3, 926 save percentage. His numbers are amazing. Domingue will be the backup. 17-4 is his record. Yeah, 17-4 for the record for the backup. 906 save percentage. This is their first meeting this year. So St. Louis, it's a matter of coming out in those early shifts and establishing yourself as a legit threat to Tampa and maybe get a lead. Maybe make them doubt themselves just a little bit, and who knows. All right, last but not least, the Columbus Blue Jackets are in against the Arizona Coyotes. Columbus 29-20-3. They look like a team that could be ready to turn things around, and John Tortorella certainly hopes they do. They beat Colorado in that last game 6-3, but prior to that, some alarming stuff. They lose 4-2 to St. Louis. They lose 4-3 to Winnipeg. They lose 5-4 to Buffalo. They lose 2-1 to Minnesota and 4-1 against Montreal. All of that, not great. On the road, they're 15-9-1 versus the West. They're 10-8-2. So the record against the West is not as good as the record against the East. Their goals leaders, Atkinson, 29, Dubois, 21, Panarin with 20. Everybody talks about Panarin's leaving. Everybody talks about Atkinson's goals. What about that Dubois kid? He's pretty solid too, isn't he? Plus-minus leaders, Murray's at plus 14, Anderson plus 13, Panarin plus 12. No confirmation on goalies tonight because Tortorella likes to keep us guessing. Bobrovsky's 20-16-1 with a 901 save percentage. Korpisalo, 9-4-2, also has a 901 save percentage for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Arizona have fallen on hard times. A lot of guys who are injured. But again, on a team where you don't really have a lot of star players and you play a really good system, you can probably keep games close. They can win this one tonight, despite all the injury issues. 23-25-5 is their record. Over their last 6 games, though. They lost to Nashville 5-2. They lost to Dallas 5-4. Lost to San Jose 3-2. Lost to Montreal 2-1. Prior to that, they beat Ottawa 3-2 and beat Toronto 4-2. So it's the last time you'll see that one on this board. At home, they're 9-12-3. And versus the East, they're also 9-12-3. So they struggle with both. And the reason Arizona's not in the playoffs, they don't play well at home. They had a good home record. They're in the playoffs. Goals leaders, there's a bunch of guys with 11. Keller, Stepan, Richardson, and Fisher all have 11 goals. The Arizona Coyotes will not have a single player with 20 goals this year. And I'd have to look back and see how often that happens. I don't think it happens very often at all, that a team has no 20 goal scorers. Plus-minus leaders, Hjalmarsson plus 6, Kempe plus 5, Garland and Connaughton plus 4s. Garland, of course, has been a bit of a revelation for them. He's got 10 goals. I can't see him scoring another 10 before the season's over, but I don't know. You never know. Kemper should be good to go tonight. I think Hill's been returned to the minors. Kemper's 11-12-5, 911 save percentage. Pickard is now 4-4-2, 875 save percentage. And Arizona won the only meeting they had against Columbus this year, so this is the second and last meeting of the year. So there you go. There you go, guys. That's 14 games for those following along at home. And I previewed them all, and it took me 49 minutes. I'm going to go have something to drink because I need it. And thank you guys so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and I'll talk to you again soon.